What's up, everyone? I hope everyone is doing well. So today I decided to bring the much beloved Pat Belluni back to the channel because we are approaching the end of 2022. We are approaching the end quarter, the final quarter of 2022, and we always want to finish the year in full throttle or full throttle, or we like to finish it in a great way. And what better way to focus on trading and bring a performance coach along to let us know how he's approaching it, or how he tells his clients to approach productivity, hustling, whatever it is. We're going to talk about many things here on today's video, so let's get straight to it. Pat, you want to just say who you are if people don't know you?
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me on again, Raf. I really do enjoy coming on and doing interviews with you and doing the videos with you. But what's going on, guys? My name is Pat Belluni. I'm the founder of Master Your Trading Mindset, which is an education and performance coaching business. And we work with traders all around the world, retail and institutional traders, helping them overcome their psychological challenges and achieve funding goals. And today, what I hope I'm going to share are just insights, tips, and tricks, very practical ones that you can implement into your trading, which are ultimately going to help lower emotions, make better decisions, and things like achieve funding, improve results, improve profit, that type of stuff. So yeah, we like to discuss very practical things that you guys can take away, just so that your time spent here watching this video, you're going to get a return on investment from it. So again, thanks for having me, Raf, and I look forward to what we're going to discuss today.
Hell yeah. So the way I like to look at finishing the year strong is by thinking about productivity, putting the work in, being disciplined, being self-disciplined with trading and life in general. And the thing is that I need to battle procrastination maybe every single week, or I really need to put the intention of battling procrastination or whatever it is. I need to keep myself in check. Now, there are many ways we can go about this, and we will go over various ways here on this video. But how do you go about the productivity side of things? How do you go about keeping yourself in check in terms of, am I sticking to the processes? Am I being intentional with my time and doing the most out of it?
Yeah, I think that's such an important discussion, Raf. One of the key things that I've seen in my life, and also the life of my clients as well, that really helps is knowing where you want to be going. I think if you're really clear on where you want to be going, even in a couple of years' time or next year, where is it you would love to be, and you have that, you could call it a goal, you could call it an intention, you could call it just an objective you're trying to accomplish. If you're clear on how that looks, then something I do every morning is I sit down and I read what I call my master plan. I have it on my computer, on my Notion, and in there has my goals for every area of life, in particular for the education business, for my trading, for my physical exercise, for my learning, for my family relationships, that type of stuff. And I know exactly what I would love to accomplish in each of those areas, let's say, for example, for the next year. And every morning when I sit down and I read those goals, I'm incredibly inspired to read those goals. I love sitting down. It's my favorite part of the day. I sit down with a cup of coffee and I read those goals, and they're extremely exciting to me, right? It's a reason for me to get out of bed, in other words, that I absolutely love to go off and accomplish those. And the question I'm constantly asking myself is, where am I relative to those goals? And what is the highest priority thing I can do today to actually move one step closer to that goal? And that, in my eyes, is the best way to keep yourself in check. It's about knowing where you're going and having the self-awareness of where you are. Let's say, for example, you got a roadmap. You're here in your mind. Your goal is over here in your mind. You're going to be asking yourself, what's the high priority actions you can be doing daily to go from where you are from A to B? And the most you can do any single day is the highest priority action. If you can sit down and ask yourself, what's the highest priority thing I can do today, the action step I can do today, and you execute on that, you're doing the most any human being can do in that particular day to move closer to that particular goal. And that's really how I think about keeping myself in check when there's a goal I would love to accomplish. It's about knowing where I currently am, where I'd love to get to, what's the highest priority action to get there. Now, when we talk about discipline, when we talk about focus, when we talk about motivation, there are additional components that come into that I can discuss as well. But in a nutshell, that's what I'm thinking about. I've got my goals, my master plan. I know where I am currently. I know where I want to get to, and every day I'm identifying the highest priority actions and working towards that. And that's what I preach my 12-week challenge. That's what I have all my students doing, and it pays dividends. It really does.
Yeah, so having various areas of your life where you have to set goals, and then every single day working on one priority action that will get you towards that goal. What would you say for people that maybe that high priority action would take them like 3 hours? Could they have separate high priority actions that they could have throughout the day, or just or at least feel good if that particular one is achieved?
Well, it depends. You're gonna have to have the self-awareness. Like, for example, I have my notebook here. When I'm reading those goals, I either do this on the weekend for the next week or on that particular day. I change, chop and change, but you need to have the self-awareness as well of yourself. It's like some individuals will be able to work non-stop for 4 hours or 8 hours or 12 hours or 18 hours, depending on how important that particular objective is and how urgent it is. But I think traders and individuals need to have that self-awareness of themselves of how much output they can actually accomplish on a particular day. And they need to have that awareness, that self-awareness. And I think the only way you build that self-awareness is by sometimes doing a little bit too much, sometimes doing a little bit too little, and you kind of find that sweet spot. But I know for me personally that sometimes I ebb and flow. Sometimes I know I can work nonstop 18 hours a day for a week, for example. If I have a particular objective that I want to accomplish in the education business, for example, I want to get a new product, I want to get a new piece of content out, I want to work with a particular client on a very challenging issue. I know I can tackle that particular objective and work nonstop until I get the result with that. But then sometimes there's no necessarily high priority actions or high priority focuses in my mind. And I don't necessarily do that much for a week or 2 weeks. I'm more in maintenance. I just go to the gym. I continue to learn. I continue to check the charts and forecasts and that type of stuff. But there's no real pushing. There's no real needle mover tasks that I get done. And then guess what? A new thing pops up, and then I sprint for the next week and I get something amazing accomplished. And then I take my foot off the pedal a little bit for a month. I maybe go on a little bit of a getaway and spend 3 days to myself doing nothing. And then I go again, right? So I don't know if I've figured out what the perfect formula is for me yet, but I think it's always about being honest with yourself and having the self-awareness of how much output you actually can do or how much output you actually have. But I think that's in large term dependent on the particular task you're trying to tackle and how important and how urgent that particular task is. Because I guarantee if someone has a very, very important task to them and it's very meaningful to them, they're not going to worry about sleeping all that much. You can go a week or two sleeping 4 hours a night and be fine if you're really inspired by a particular task. You may notice yourself losing weight. I've seen this within myself. I have a very important task. I sleep 4 hours a night for a week. I lose weight because I forget to eat sometimes, and I'm just so hyper focused. But I don't do that nonstop. I don't agree with doing that nonstop. I don't think it's sustainable for me. I don't think it's sustainable for a lot of people. But yeah, I think it's all about building that self-awareness and finding what works for you. I know anthropologically, if you look at our ancestors, for example, what did they do? They would hunt. They'd go find food. That would be extremely physically exerting in that time, and then they would take a week off and just be really relaxed for that week, and then they'll have to go hunting again. So I think from an anthropological standpoint, from a biology standpoint, we're wired to go through waves and go through seasons. But I think an individual needs to have that self-awareness to get in tune with how that works for them.
Yeah, that's very interesting, because it was in June that I got like my first major burnout, I would say, where nothing was going the way I wanted because I had I put so many things on my plate in May. And while I was resting for 2 weeks, I was thinking to myself, how would be the right way to go about it? And I noticed is exactly what you said, that the best way to go about it, it's literally to sprint and then rest, reassess, and then sprint again. This is something that Naval said, and it never really clicked, but it did once I started thinking about it. So You have a particular task that you really need to get done. So you sprint through it. And when I mean I sprint through it is I put a lot of work in. And then when that task and maybe other tasks are finished and I don't have that many high priority or like really important tasks to get done, then I rest and reassess. And that rest and reassess, basically what it does is that it gives you the energy back to the next time that you sprint. You can do it full throttle. And the reassessing is all about planning on what you are going to do next, looking at what happened until now, looking at where you are at in life right now, to be able to then choose the next high priority action to then sprint towards. So that's definitely the way I'm also going about it.
Yep, and just for sake of diversification for the guys and girls watching, I agree with that approach. That's right. Naval talked a lot about that. But then I also look at someone like Dr. John Demartini, who I personally see as like the flip side of that coin, who has an insane work ethic and just constantly works. And John's perspective on that would be slightly different. He would say, all right, I'm going to find what's most important and I'm going to super task. I'm going to link everything else to that one objective. So let's say, for example, you have a particular objective and you want to become a funded trader. You know the high priority actions to do every day for that are to create a trading plan, to back test and ensure that trading plan has an edge, and then you go off and execute on that trading plan. What else you can do is you can go and link the other areas of life to that. And you can ask yourself, how is me going off and doing that? How does it actually help with my relationships and my building of friendships? Well, maybe you're in a community and when you're trading, you're building relationships, and that's your form of relationships when you're going off and becoming a funded trader. And how does that contribute to my health and fitness? Well, maybe that energizes you and vitalizes you. And maybe when you're in the gym or running, you could be listening to podcasts to help become a better trader. And it's about linking the other areas to that one particular objective. And I know John does this, and he's laser focused, and he goes nonstop, because I think in his mind, he has a continuous amount of high priority things he can be working on. He always has that next thing. Now, I don't personally resonate with that nonstop hustle. Not at least this stage of my life. Maybe I will change. Maybe it will be different. But I think every individual, I resonate more with what you're talking about, Raf, or what Naval talked about. But I think every individual needs to find what works for them. And, you know, sometimes you're going to sprint. Sometimes you're going to be super, super inspired, get so much high quality work done. And then sometimes you may not. But I think it's really important not to beat yourself up when you don't. Because that may not be the most productive thing to do either. You may need that rest because sometimes also in that rest and relax stage, when you're reflecting, resting, relaxing, whatever you want to call it, your best ideas come through, and you have those moments, those sparks of that's a great idea. I'm going to focus on that. So I could argue both ways, but I think individuals need to find what works best for them and have that self-awareness of how they resonate best.
Yeah, and also understanding that not everything needs as many hours as, for example, building out a company that is meant to change the world. For example, if you look at Elon Musk, that is constantly working 16-hour, 18-hour a day, and he doesn't mind. He's always working. Like that's what it takes in order to become a billionaire and revolutionize a whole industry and multiple industries. So, but in trading, it's not the same. What are you going to do for 18 hours per day in trading? Are you going to be looking at each 1 minute candle to see what is going to happen? Well, if you do, you're probably going to force some trades. You will not stick to the plan because you are going to be like, oh, I'm just staring at the charts. I'm not making money. Thus, I need to enter in a trade. Boom, you don't stick to the plan. So it's also understanding what industry you are in and what is the bigger picture. Like, do you really need to trade 24/7? No, you don't, because your plan is not always there. So if you understand also this perspective of you can't compare yourself to someone that is building out a company that is meant to revolutionize the whole world, to someone that is trying to trade and find the edge, he has to wait for that edge to play out. There's, of course,
Yep.
you can now, people can say, oh, but you can backtest, forecast, whatever it is. Yeah, but there's only so much you can do in terms of backtesting and forecasting, because you also need to put things into action. It's not all about testing, because else you'll be stuck in the testing phase. You need to put them into action. And to put them into action, you need to have patience and actually let the market play out.
Yep. That's so true. More time doesn't necessarily mean more money as a trader. That's why I'm a huge promoter of empowering all areas of your life. And all my content is very balanced, I think, saying that you don't want to become the best trader in the world at the compromise of your health, at the compromise of your relationships, at the compromise of you know your mental functions, etc., etc. I don't think anybody would take that. I honestly don't think if I had the power to grant someone the wish of becoming the best trader in the world, but your health was down the drain, your
Yeah.
relationship sucked, I think very few people would hesitate. I mean, I think very few people would take that. So I'm a huge, promoter that once you have your trading plan, once you've tested the edge, you maybe need 30 minutes a day to just go onto the charts to see if the setup sets up. If there are no setups for that day, great. Go dedicate your time to empowering one of the other areas of life. Go find what you'd love to do with your life and start building something else. Maybe it's another business. Maybe you work for someone else. Maybe you dedicate your time to your family or your health and fitness or to your learning, to whatever's most important to you. I don't want to have to say one way is right, one way is wrong. Or maybe you have such a high priority on trading that you maybe go dedicate that time to developing a new system or continuing to learn about the macroeconomic world, or you go study the greats about what they did, or you study investments. But I think what you said is true. The more you try and the more time, because if you have the belief that the more energy and time I put into trading a particular system, the more money I'm going to make, I think you put yourself at a disadvantage, right? You have to let the edge play out, right? Which means patience is a huge component of trading. But if you still have a very high value in trading, you can go and learn to develop a new system. Or you go study the world of algo trading, you go study the world of macroeconomics or stocks or whatever, and you can develop your knowledge there. But yeah, I think it's so important to just let your edge play out. Patience is a huge component of that.
Yeah, and I think this is a great segue in terms of discipline, because I'm a big proponent that if you are disciplined in one area of your life, you are 99% more likely to be disciplined in all other areas of your life. And this is also what I've noticed, and I'm noticing right now, where even though I want to build more muscle, I also want to build the discipline of not binge eating whatever comes to mind. Because when I was back in the other house, I genuinely had the habit of just leaving my chair, going onto the kitchen, opening the fridge, even if I wasn't hungry, just to eat something. And I noticed that I wasn't being disciplined there. I also noticed that I wasn't being that disciplined in terms of trading, in terms of sticking to the plan, in terms of sticking to the pairs that I trade, and etc. I was much more all over the place. So right now, even though I'm like, okay, I want to build more muscle, therefore I need to eat more, but I also want to build that discipline of, no, now I don't want to eat for 16 hours per day. I want to put that into my mind of, no, I'm in charge here. Even though my mind might tell me, oh, I'm hungry. It's like, no, you're not really. Like, you can get enough calories in the 8 hours per day. And I genuinely have noticed a big improvement in my trading thus far, where even if I do want to take a trade, I'm able to look at the bigger picture and be like, no, there's no setup there. What are you trying to do? Or, okay, let me look at the other pairs. Okay, you can look at them, but you are not going to trade them. All that, and it's the first time that I'm putting it into words, but I think it's generally helping the discipline within my trading. So how would you go about discipline around your trading, about sticking to a plan, sticking to risk management? Because a lot of people are all over the place, where They might trade pairs that they normally don't trade. They might risk a little bit more because a setup looks great, or they really want to get over X, Y, and Z threshold, or they don't want to follow the plan because they have that belief that, okay, if I'm not trading, then I'm not making money, thus I'm procrastinating at the charts. How do you go about that discipline around trading?
Well, just to use a little bit of a funny analogy, it's like imagine you had like a super hot date in a month's time, and you just, if you're a guy or a girl, you just had this individual you found super attractive, and you're going to go on a date with them. Let's say you had a month to prepare for that date. In that month, I guarantee you that individual is going to be disciplined with their eating, with their training, with their sleep, with whatever you need to do to prepare for a date. So I think discipline in large part comes from how important the overall task is to you. If you have a goal or a task that's super important to you, meaning that it's in your mind a very high value task, and you see a lot of benefit from accomplishing it, then you're going to be disciplined to doing the action steps. You're going to be disciplined to the action steps that lead to that particular goal. I have an AIM framework. This is sort of how I teach goal setting, but you have to have an awareness. The first thing, it's AIM, AIM. The first thing you have to have when you're goal setting to ensure you have discipline to the goals, you have to have an awareness of what's most important to you. You have to have a look at your life, what it demonstrates as most important to you, right? That's number one, A. I is you have to have a clear intention or a clear goal, the thing you want to actually accomplish. That's the I. So the A, the I, and then the M is you have to build momentum with high priority actions. So after you know what's most important to you, after you're clear on the goal, and after you have the high priority actions in place, you want to, in your mind, be able to see the link between those high priority actions and what's most important to you. You want to ask yourself, why am I doing these high priority actions? And you have to see in your mind the importance of doing those high priority actions. I'm a big believer that discipline, motivation, focus, these all come, they all come to you when a task is very important to you. Yeah. So it's more so in my mind about how valuable that task is, as opposed to saying that person's disciplined, that person's not. Because here's the thing, right? This is the contradictory nature. Some people label themselves saying, I'm not a disciplined person. That's what they say. The question they're not asking themselves is, where are you disciplined in your life? And I guarantee they will be disciplined in some other area of their life. But what's happening is they're comparing themselves to someone who has a higher value on another thing, that person has discipline in that area. This person's comparing themselves to that person, saying, I'm not disciplined in that area. They beat themselves up because they're not honoring their own values. They're not honoring what's truly most important to them. So if you're saying to yourself, I'm not disciplined, you want to ask yourself, where am I disciplined? Hold yourself accountable until you can see where you are disciplined. And I guarantee you that task that you're doing, that you're disciplined to, is just more valuable than the task you think you should be doing. So to go back to your question, let's talk about discipline in life first. We'll talk about discipline in trading. I'm very disciplined to what's most important to me. And then when it comes to things that are less important to me, I'm not very disciplined at all. And I can see that. I can honor that sometimes I'm disciplined, sometimes I'm not. I'm disciplined towards things that are important to me. I'm not disciplined towards things that just aren't important to me at this point in time. So whenever I do a task, I ask myself, is this thing I want to do, right? Okay, for example, in my life, I started boxing recently. I asked myself, is this particular task, is it in my mind linked to something that's important to me, that I have a high value on? And to me, my physical appearance, being able to protect and that type of stuff is very important to me. And that was already a clear link in my mind. So I don't necessarily have discipline issues with boxing, for example. But if I wanted to start something else like knitting, if I wanted to start knitting every weekend, or I wanted to start making cupcakes every weekend, then I don't see the link between doing those things to what is most of value to me in my life at this point in time. So I wouldn't have discipline towards that. Now, here's the thing. You can either go and pursue goals that are already linked to what's most important to you, or you can make those links clear yourself. So let's say, for example, I wanted to become the best cupcake maker in the world, which I don't, but let's say I did. I would go and study the best cupcake makers. I would have a look at what are the action steps they're doing. And then I would link those action steps to what is most important to me, so I can raise the value of those particular tasks by stacking benefits. ask myself, how is me doing this particular action step that will make me a great cupcake maker? How does that serve and benefit my education business? How does that serve and benefit my trading? How does that serve and benefit my physical abilities, right? And the more links I make, what I'm doing is I'm raising the value of the action steps. That's a bit of a stupid example, but I just want to use that as an example. People can change their discipline based on where they associate value in their life. Okay. So you can either go and pursue things that are already linked to what's most important to you, have discipline towards those, or you can go and link things that aren't as important, but you think would be wise to do. And you can link those to what is most important to you, and you would have discipline towards those tasks because now you see them as valuable. So you can do one of the two things. But if you're going to go off and pursue something that you don't clearly in your mind see linked to what is most important to you, to what your life demonstrates is most important to you, you're not going to do it. You're maybe going to last a month doing it, and then you're not going to be disciplined to it. You're going to do the things that are important to you over doing that. So you have to be mindful of that. You have to make sure, and you have to be honest with yourself. Is this truly linked to what my life demonstrates is most important to me? And if it isn't, you're not going to have discipline to it. So that's when it comes to goal setting in life. But when it comes to trading, I think a big reason, I've seen this consistently with traders, I think a big reason why traders don't stick to their trading plan, they don't stick to their risk management, they don't stick to their rules, is because they're not certain in their trading plan. They're not certain in their rules, and they're not certain in their risk management. If you think about it, if you're certain in your trading plan, you're certain that your trading plan is going to help you get the results you need to help you accomplish the goals you want in life, then you're not going to have any reason to go outside your trading plan. But I think going away from your trading plan is a symptom of not being certain in your trading plan. And there are still questions in your mind that you haven't answered, right? And you going off and doing things that, like risking more, these are all you subconsciously trying to answer those questions that you haven't answered in your head. So I would be really sitting down and say, for example, you have an urge to risk more. Sit down and be like, okay, I have an urge to risk more and I have risked more. Am I certain in my risk rules? Am I certain in the statistics behind my edge? Am I certain that me risking 1%, I personally risk 1% of capital, am I certain that's actually the right thing to do for me? And you have to go off and find and prove that to yourself, because you going off and risking more is an indication to you that there's lack of certainty in your risk rules. And maybe you just injected that belief from a previous mentor saying that you should be risking 1%. And now when you feel the need to break that, what you're doing is you're trying to unconsciously answer questions in the back of your head. Okay, so you have to bring those to surface. You have to build certainty in your rules, in your trading plan, in your risk rules. I think a big reason from what I've seen, people not sticking to their trading plan is because they've just injected their rules from trading communities, from trading mentors. They haven't really proven that system for themselves. They haven't tested that system. And then going away from that trading plan is all an indication to me that they just need to go back. They need to build more certainty in their system, in their risk rules, and that type of stuff. So yeah, that's my answer to your question. Very long form answer. But yeah.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. And it's funny that you touched on that quite a bit of times. And basically, in terms of this being disciplined in life and productivity in general, I think one quote that really stands out, and if we really think about it, that's what happens when we get motivated, we work nonstop and whatsoever, is that if you give yourself 5 hours to finish a task, or you give yourself 1 week to finish the task, you are going to take the whole amount of time that you give yourself. And it's very funny because every time I was most diligent within my work, where I completely forget what time it is basically when I have a deadline, or I want to get something finished quick so I get it out or something. For example, last week I had to record, edit, and upload the video on Friday because I had no video recorded. And I was able to do it. I wrote the video, recorded, edited, and published it on one day, where normally it takes me 1 week. I record, then I edit, then I upload it, then I do the thumbnail. So it's so funny that it's all about almost that scarcity of when you have to get things done. And with trading, I found it interesting that you said that it's not if you are not disciplined within your trading, you're probably not confident enough in it to be able to stick to it. That's very interesting because a lot of people might
Certain.
resonate with that. Yeah.
Yep, certain. And this is the difference between confident and certain. You have to be certain.
Okay.
And if I
Okay.
was to ask someone, if I was to ask someone, are you certain that you have an edge with your trading plan? Even just like a little bit of hesitation means they're not certain. When you're certain, you're like, yeah. Well, you don't even say yep, you say yes. You have complete certainty. If someone says yeah, to me that's still hesitation. It's a yes. I'm certain in my trading plan, and there's a big difference. I've seen very few traders who are certain in a trading plan, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with not being certain with your trading plan, but if you're not certain, it means you have questions that are still unanswered. You want to have the self-awareness to bring those questions forward and address those questions. And it's a non-stop thing. It's like, all right, I'm certain in my trading plan, but the market's moving slightly differently. I'm not certain in this market condition. I have questions. Let me go and address those questions through back-tested data or by speaking to great mentors, for example. I think there are constantly new questions that will come to surface that you want to answer, you want to address. Yep.
Yeah. And just to finish off kind of on a good note, because we talked about discipline in your trading, in your life, and etc. I also understand that it can really be perceived as we preaching the hustle mentality, like the hustle, 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 don't stop working, just work, work, work. And I think we were able throughout this video to explain that that's not really how most people go. But what are your feelings overall on that hustle mentality of people that tell you to work 16 hours per day and whatever? I would personally believe that I would personally say that it's simply understanding that different people have different priorities. And for example, for Gary Vee, for example, because he's a big proponent of working, 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 it's like, okay, maybe he is able to do that and his priority is business, business, business. But for someone else that might be hearing what he's saying, but his priority is business and family, then you can't do what he's doing because you
Yep.
need to some of your time needs to go towards your family if that's one of your priorities. Would you say that that's a good way to look at hustle mentality of just don't compare yourself to whoever is saying work, 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 or to whoever
100%.
is working, working, working? Because I that's what I found myself doing. It's like I compare myself to others on how much they work or how much they say they work, and I'm like, gosh, I'm not doing enough. I need to do more.
Yep. I think you summed it up perfectly, Raf. I think that the smarter thing to do is to compare the action steps you got done that day to your overall goal. So I think it's okay to look at people and be like, oh, that guy or that girl is doing something really, really cool. And that's really inspiring. And then use that as an opportunity to set a standard that's higher in your life. But then you ultimately want to identify the highest priority actions and just compare your daily actions to the goal. Make sure you're moving closer to the goal as opposed to them looking at other people. But yeah, I don't work 16 hours a day, so I don't promote it. Sometimes I have worked 16 hours a day for like a week or something, like I've mentioned, but only because I had a particular goal or objective that I was incredibly inspired by, and I didn't want to do anything but get that thing done. And I've studied 16 hours a day for a week or two, reading books or reading texts or reading things on human behavior and psychology that I've been really inspired by. And I've back tested 16 hours a day for a week or something because I've been really inspired by a new strategy. I want to learn something. I want to refine something. But I don't do that constantly. Some people may, but I personally don't. It's not what I promote. It's not what I preach. I think the better thing to do is, because here's the issue. If you have an expectation that you're going to do it, right, and then you don't do it, you're going to beat yourself up. That's not a good way to go about achieving your goals either. So I think that the smarter thing to do is just to get clear on what you would love to accomplish. It's okay to look at other people to see what sort of standard they're setting in their life, and then just aim to set a standard where they are or even higher than they are. But then every day just focus on what's the highest priority action that's going to move you closer to that goal. And the only thing you're going to be comparing yourself to at the end of the day is asking yourself, did I do action steps that move me closer to that goal? That's it. I think that's really the way to accomplish goals, um, and not put so much pressure on yourself, beat yourself up, and compare yourself, etc., etc. I think that's what I've done. That's what I share with clients. We've seen great results. So that's what I've seen work.
Yeah, that's what I personally also feel, where I don't mind comparing myself to others, even though that unconsciously it's negative for me, but it might give me the boost needed to then make changes. For the last, I don't know, for the last 3 months, I haven't felt disciplined, and it was by hearing how other people approach discipline and comparing the way that I approach discipline to theirs. That's when I started making changes too. So there's ways to be, for that to be, for comparison to be beneficial and not beneficial. So I think
Yep.
you summed it up pretty well.
Yeah, I had a moment recently actually where I was sitting back and I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing pretty well in life and business and all that type of stuff. And then I saw someone who was doing, leagues above me in business, and that to me was it was nice because it humbled me and it
Yeah.
broke me out of this sort of fantasy land that I was living in, being like, you know what? There are so many different levels to it that there's no point me getting all puffed up about a little bit of success I've accomplished and exaggerating myself. Um, Ground yourself, look at other people, because there's some people out there doing incredible things. Like we can't take that away, and not only in our industry but in every industry.
Yeah.
So I don't mind looking at people and reading biographies and watching documentaries that are really cool, because they're inspiring. But to sit there and compare yourself to other people all day and then beat yourself up when you're not as good as that person in your mind, I think that's stupid. I think that's counterproductive. But to look at that guy or girl and saying, damn, they're doing cool things, that's inspiring. I want to do cool things in my life as well. Go back to that AIM framework I talked about. Get clear on what's most important to you in your life that you could do cool things within, right? That's your inner wiring. Set a clear intention and then set high priority actions every day to work at it. I think that's the best way to go about it.
Yeah, I think we summed it up really, really well. Where you look at your life. That's the only way that you can go about it. You look at your life, you look at your goals, you look at your vision and and what you want to prioritize, and then you set the intention. You understand what actions you have to do each day in order to achieve those bigger visions, goals, whatever you have and whatever you prioritize, and if you are able to do that and still sometimes compare yourself to see if there's anything you can improve on or whatever it is, if it's productive, then
Yep.
that's fine. And I think that that's a great way to have also the balance of your life of working and resting, working and resting, because that's in a way how you will be happy. If you also need to understand, and I think this is what I'll leave as my last regard, which is, if you are on your deathbed and like 1 week from now, and people ask you if you're happy with what you've done thus far, and you are not, because you I wish I would have spent more time with my family or whatever, then maybe, are you really focusing on what you want to focus on? Are your actions really aligned with your values? Or if you say yes, then I think that's good, and I think we should aim towards that, because the day of tomorrow is not it's not granted. So again, we need to have the balance between enjoying life and working towards the future, because the future is possibly also there, but also being happy day by day and being present and prioritizing what we want to prioritize, instead of looking at what Pat or me or whoever is doing and doing that.
Yep. Well said.
And yeah, do you want to leave any last regards or?
Yeah, I again want to emphasize the key things that we've discussed here today, Raf. Uh, I think a really big part of this whole idea of discipline, motivation, inspiration, accomplishing great things, it comes back to really getting clear on what's most important to that individual. And you can only find what's most important to you through self-awareness and introspection. You're not going to find what's most important to you on social media or on YouTube. Although those things can prompt you to introspect, like if someone's watching this, introspect, that's a prompt to go and introspect, look at your life. But you just want to look at what your life demonstrates as most important to you and structure your life around that, because that's ultimately where you're going to have your success in your life. And someone else who's gone off and accomplished great success, like Elon Musk, who has accomplished great success, let's say, for example, by creating SpaceX and Tesla, just had a different value system, had a very high value on innovation and space exploration and electrical renewable energy. That's not my value system. There's not a chance I'd be successful in that if I had my current value system. I know my value system is trading mindset education. That's what my life demonstrates is most important to me. So I'm going to dedicate everything to doing that there. And that's my message for everybody. You want to identify what it is for you and go at that and set high priority actions every day, and then compare your daily actions to the goal. Don't compare yourself to other people, and just keep chipping away every day, and you build some serious momentum. It's like Raf and I were talking before about his YouTube channel and how it's just consistently growing because every day is just, or every week is just putting out new great content. And you're focused on the process, Raf. You're focused on what's the new video. Let me create that video. Let me add a little bit of comedy into it. Let me make sure I communicate the message really well. Let me create a great thumbnail and let me put it out. That's the process that you're focused on. And in the background, the outcome's just happening as a result. And I think that's a really good analogy for what everybody can bring into whatever industry they're in. Just focus on the process of what's most important to you, the high priority actions, and the result, the outcome comes as a consequence of doing those high priority actions.
Yeah, love that. How can people find you?
I got my YouTube channel that I'd encourage you to check out. A lot of free videos on trading mindset. Pat Bayluni is my name. I'm sure Raf will be kind enough to leave a link in the description. I've also got my free tools, Bulletproof Your Mindset tool, which really helps make better decisions, lower emotional volatilities in the market. And I've got my signature program, the 12-week challenge. I've set up a discount code for all Raf Kimmel viewers, so that, again, I'm sure will be in the description. But yeah, thanks so much, guys, for watching this far. Raf, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure. I look forward to the next one.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Check the links in the description. Subscribe to Pat. Subscribe to myself if you aren't yet subscribed. And we will see you next week. Peace.